Welcome to Mythical Entertainment's Gamer Den. This is Alan, and I'm joined by Sean, aka Thunder.
Hey guys.
So basically, this is our gaming podcast. We're going to be discussing some news. We'll be discussing some upcoming releases, and we'll also be talking a bit about what we're playing. So to start off with the news, we want to talk about No Man's Sky, and there was a bit of a kerfuffle here between the bloggers and journalists and the game designer because a lot of these people end up getting copies previous to it being officially released. So there were, live streaming, posting screenshots, talking about it, even almost giving some form of mini review. And the designer was very upset about that. He said, please, wait for us to throw out that V1 patch, that day one patch, because the game you guys are playing is not what we intended for you to play. So how do you feel about that?
Oh, okay. Well, first off, when we discussed this chat that we were going to be talking about this, I assumed that we were going to actually be talking about the fact that the PC release version of this, unless you have a YouTuber style gaming computer, it basically chugs along like you're playing Arkham Knight or AC Unity. That's what I thought we were going to talk about. So a little out of left field with me on this one here. Um, So was this like a leaked copy that came out, or were they all game review copies that they had sent out that they wanted to do a release after the patch? Or
No, these were leaked copies. So, from what I understand, is that sort of a lot of the journalists and professional gaming journalists, like they know of a certain store that gets those copies early, and they went there to get that disc. Because if you get that digitally, you have to wait for them to actually allow you to download it. But if you got that disc, you can just put it in and start playing. So that's exactly what happened. They got it, they started playing it, posting screenshots. They're saying, "Oh, this game is terrible. There's nothing here." And the designer was like, basically pleading with them, wait for the official patch, and then you'll get the experience we wanted you to get.
well, yeah, I mean that seems fair. They're still working on it. They have up until the release date to do any changes that they want to do it. And I mean that's the whole point of a day one patch is, oops, we sent out the copies of this and now it's missing this critical piece of information that causes the game to not explode. Yeah, no, that's absolutely more than fair. Uh,
I, I completely agree with you, and I think that a lot of these bloggers and gaming journalists basically said "screw you" to the main designer. His name is Sean Murray. And I really hope that they get punished for it. I mean, I don't know if they will, because these happened before where a lot of these guys get or girls get these early. Again, they hit that one store that they know always puts it out there early. They're not supposed to, but they break that street date and stuff like this happens. And I think it's unfortunate because I think they really spoiled the game for a lot of people out there who were, really excited. They were hyped. They really wanted No Man's Sky. They waited so long to get it, and then in come these, this flood, really, of screenshots and impressions and reviews, and they really, I think, hurt the experience for a lot of people. And I really hope they don't do that anymore. But I think that sort of drive to be first, to get those clicks, to get those views on YouTube, that it'll continue to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't really go after the journalists and the bloggers for giving a review of what they had at the time. What you need to do is go after the store that's breaking street date, because I could have sworn that a lot of those places were under contract. You always hear that, they can't release it until a certain date because that's what the producer company, the company that sends it to them says you can't release it until this day. That's why those dates are on posters. It's not technically available until then, even though the store is probably filled with copies of it at the time, because they're filling out their pre-order status. So, um, if I were the producers of No Man's Sky, I would try and find out which store did that and go after them, because no doubt this has cost them money.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure they can find out, and I'm sure they're very upset. But I think at a certain point in time, when the designer himself is just pleading with you, asking you, saying, "Oh, could you please just wait for that patch?" I don't mind them playing the game, but I do mind them, again, putting the everything up online, putting impressions, and even almost like a review, and really kind of crapping on the everyone else's experience.
I mean, it's unfair, is what it is, because they're not done
Definitely.
with it. And, I hope that these content creators, these, impressionists, I hope that they get dinged further down by other gaming companies who basically will refuse to do business with them from this point forward because they just can't be trusted.
I agree because a lot of these developers and publishers, like, they do their best to work with them and give them everything that they need, and they kind of just have them to go like, whatever, man, screw you, bro. We're gonna throw this up on the internet. You can't stop us. Yeah, so we'll see if this continues to be a trend going forward.
Hopefully it won't.
I hope so too. So our next story is actually about the Xbox One S. So according to Microsoft, it's quote unquote sold out everywhere. Did you expect it to sell out? Do you believe them that they're sold out?
I'll take it at the face value in that, they can see the raw data, they know their output production levels, and then they know how many people have pre-ordered or ordered straight from them their new console. So I think that, someone sat down with a spreadsheet and it matched up, and, they had far too many in the buy category and not enough in the make category.
Okay, well, I'm going to call big old BS on Microsoft here for a little PR spin because once these stories kind of started going out, I felt like that was not what was matching up with what I was seeing because as soon as I Google searched it, I could have find it at Target, Walmart, Amazon, Best Buy. Now I know that they have, it kind of there's a bit of a lag in terms of what they actually have in stock. But the other thing that kind of signaled to me that that can't be right is that I've seen sales now on that 2 terabyte Xbox One S, not specifically dropping the price, but I've seen Newegg include up to 4 free games. I've seen other stores. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but they offered a $25 gift card with the purchase of an Xbox One S 2 terabyte. So to me, that doesn't seem like a console that should be just sold out everywhere you go, and it's gone, guys. It's gone.
Well, it could be hype train. It could also be the fact that maybe they are counting how many they've actually shipped to distributors like Newegg and other such companies, and that Xbox themselves is completely sold out because they've already shipped out every single thing that they had. So, I mean, Amazon may have a few that they've got hiding and tucked away, and they're probably really glad that that announcement was just made because now, the hype train is out of control over it. But no, um, I believe Microsoft when they say that, if they say that they're sold out, then they themselves are sold out. You can't really look at these secondary distributors and be like, "Oh, well, Microsoft said they were sold out and these guys aren't sold out yet," and just assume there's a credibility gap there because now, you know, that doesn't work like that.
Okay, well, I was still one of those listeners to know that if they are interested in one, like they're still out there. Like, don't you don't have to like run out immediately. Like you were saying, a lot of the retailers, I'm sure, were very happy that that news was kind of thrown out there because then people are like, oh wait, they're almost gone. We got to go get them now. So we'll see. I'll continue to keep my eye on stock. And now we move on to Nintendo. There was actually a fan made Metroid 2 remake, and it's actually been known about for a few years now. They've been throwing out, little snippets of gameplay, a demo, and then they actually finally hit version 1.0, and Nintendo said, nope, that's not going to happen. And they got hit with a cease and desist, and it's not up online anymore. So how do you feel about that? Do you think Nintendo made a mistake with that? Do you think they could have handled it differently?
I got a lot of mixed feelings on this one because I actually know about this one, and Nintendo's response to the whole thing is that they have a right to protect their intellectual property is 100% true. They made these characters, they own them, and yeah, I know they haven't done a lot with Samus in a while, and they botched the last one that they did where they brought in that secondary company to help them program Other M. I know people are still sore on that one. Um, so they have every right to do so. The thing is that they let this run for years on a blog post that was open to the public. So Nintendo had to have seen this coming down the pipe. They had years to stop this. If they didn't want this to be released at all, they should have killed it in its crib. So
Absolutely.
so to release it after there's so much hype over this, and the fact that it was being released for free, the guy who did this basically was a project of passion. He wasn't going to make any money off of this. He was just putting it up there for people to get because he was a fan and he wanted to share his love of the game with with an HD remake of the original game. So on the one hand, yeah, I support Nintendo's actions up to a point. I honestly think that they should have just let this go because now they've burned their Metroid fan base right before they have a new release coming out.
Hmm. I agree 100% with what you say, sir. I just feel like this is old man Nintendo not getting it again. It drives me nuts. Here you have this fan made passion project. It's Metroid's 30th anniversary. And like you said, it's been known for years. It hasn't been a secret. Someone at Nintendo knew. They knew enough that it was going to, be finished earlier this week, enough to pull the plug as soon as they put it out there. And to me, it's just a missed opportunity. They could have gone to them, say, "Hey, that's awesome. Please take it down. Let's do something together." Because that was a really well done game. People were really having fun with it. And so to then just go, "Oh, no, no, just take it down completely. We don't care. Bring it down." It's just so tone deaf on their part. I think that they could have done really well. Like I said, again, bring it in, make it like an eShop title. What better way to celebrate Metroid's 30th anniversary to have a fan made game that's actually really good? Something that Nintendo hasn't done in a while for Metroid.
Yeah, I know that there was rumors that they crushed this because they're planning to do their own HD remake of the original game. And it's all rumor and conjecture at this point, so nobody go getting excited like we've got another Duke Nukem coming down the pipe here. But even still, they could have even if they just told them to delay it a little bit until they were closer to their remake, or even brought the guy on board. There are plenty of companies out there who have seen fans create games and realize that they have a talented developer on their hands and brought them onto the team to help them push out a game. And
Sega,
honestly, yeah,
yeah, Sega's a perfect example of that. They had someone, a fan, who made a version of Sonic that was really good, a fan made version, and they said, "Hey, you know what? That new Sonic title, we're going to remix and remake some of these classics and put them all in one package. You come do that." And and it worked out. Everyone's really psyched for Sonic now, which hasn't happened in a while.
yeah. Well, let's wait until that actually comes out. Then I'm sure they'll be at each other's throats in no time.
Well, let's go on to the next subject, which is Final Fantasy 15 delayed to November the 29th. Feelings, thoughts?
Are they removing all the lightning from it? Because if they are, I'm fine with that.
Probably not going to happen. It's just a straight up delay. In fact, they might
Uh,
be adding more lightning.
no, no
Just.
more lightning. Oh man. Well, I do want to say this. I'm pretty sure that the reason that they're delaying it isn't just an arbitrary thing like most people are saying. Um, Final Fantasy VII remake has been very popular, very in the news lately. So I'm thinking that that's actually drawing assets away from Final Fantasy 15 so that that can be completed.
I agree. I don't think they're just delaying it just for the sake of delaying it, because delaying it to this date puts them at a huge disadvantage. They kind of had a really nice spot there in September. If you actually look at the calendar, they're going to be up against Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, Dishonored 2, Watch Dogs 2, and Pokemon Sun and Moon right before they come out. To me, I'm sure that's not what they wanted to see on the docket, so to speak, on the way to their release. It just takes away people's time and money when they could be playing Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, the golden quarter is a great time to release video games most of the time. Unfortunately, that's when a lot of the AAA titles are being released just in time for Christmas. So you're always going to go up against much stiffer competition when you go for a November or a December release. Even a January release can be devastating to sales, depending on what the other companies are bringing out. So Final Fantasy definitely has an uphill battle. I mean, trying to go up against Call of Duty is just suicidal.
Yeah, and not only that, but let's say that most of these audiences who would play these games wouldn't probably play Final Fantasy 15 anyway, but Dragon Quest builders, that does a lot of crossover between people who play Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. So their Dragon Quest builders coming out October 31st, the full month. So if people really get into that, boom, all of a sudden you've lost a good chunk of people who would normally have gotten Final Fantasy 15 the month before.
I'm wondering if No Man's Sky may have had something to do with this as well, because that is just a gigantic game about exploration as well. And I believe Final Fantasy 15 had was similar to, I want to say, Final Fantasy 12 style open world movement.
Yeah, I believe it
Okay,
is.
yeah, that's what I thought. Um, So maybe there was some planning in there as well that they wanted to try and move as far away from No Man's Sky, let that game have a chance to burn people out because it is a huge game. And if you're not that big into open world, strip mine, hunt for resources kind of thing, basically it's the perfect game for ex-WoW players and other MMO players. I think that they wanted to move it to that point when those gamers who were already in that trend of thinking would have been burnt out and bought it at that point when it was further down the road. It's just unfortunate of what's coming out to fight it.
Oh yeah. And the thing is that so much of nowadays is about social media. What are people posting on Twitter, Instagram? I'm playing this, I'm playing that. And like I said, all those other releases are going to suck everyone's attention in. And all I can say is good luck, Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Square. They have not had an easy time, especially after the Lightning Returns game came out and their sales kind of tanked when people realized how not fun of a game their third installment was.
Well, moving on to someone who doesn't need much help, talking about Sony. They are going to have a PlayStation meeting on September the 7th, apparently to unveil the PlayStation Neo and probably a whole lot of VR news. So, how do you feel about this one?
I checked out the specs on the Neo. It's pretty much just, something to combat the Xbox One S or Project Scorpio, whatever Scorpio happens to be. But looking over the stats, because PlayStation has this nice open door release policy of whenever they get all the stats released, they like to give it out to their players as opposed to surprising everybody. It's pretty much just, I know it's supposed to go for the new 4K system, but if you look at the numbers, it's basically just a 25% increase in efficiency. That's basically what you're buying is a new system that's 25% more efficient than your older machine. So someone who's getting into the PlayStation side of things is going to be in luck because they'll have that. While the older customers like me, I'm kind of a little bit screwed here on this point because I still have my old one and it works just fine. I'm not going to want to, you know, push out all that money for something that only works marginally faster and is not, and the 4K system isn't prolific yet. There's only a few things. So we're still in that weird transfer period. It just seems too soon for all these companies to be releasing these 4K systems.
Okay. I definitely agree that the PlayStation Neo was just a very juiced up PlayStation 4. And I think that some folks might be a little disappointed in the type of horsepower it's going to bring to the table. I know that I've seen a lot of benchmarking, and granted, these are theoretical. People are kind of building sort of PCs that have the spec of a PS Neo. So they're saying, okay, it has to have this GPU. We know it's going to have this processor, this much RAM. We're going to build something basically match for match, matching up part for part. And now let's play 4K games and see how it works out. And it ends up hitting around 30 frames per second, but the most enjoyable spot is sort of the 60 frame per second area. So I think it's going to struggle a bit. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to be received. I think that their primary focus is going to have the ability to be able to use the VR headset without that little extra box that they're including with the VR headset for the older PlayStation 4s. So just one less cable, something a little more neat, a little more sleek. So I think that's their main aim is have this system that runs that VR really well. That's just my impression.
But the thing is that the system is not that much faster. I literally have the stats. I'm looking at them right now, And we are seeing a 24 to 30% increase of overall processing speed for the CPU and the memory. The GPU is the biggest one out there because they basically doubled that monster because you're going to need it for the 4K system. But that's really all you're buying is a better graphics processing unit. So I'm just not sure if right now, since it's not, the technology isn't prolific enough, if it's worth dumping all that extra money into that we're not really going to see anything for maybe, I'm going to go ahead and guess another year or two. Basically, we're hitting the Blu-ray HD system all over again. And I remember on that thing didn't really take off for a few years too. And then we're going to also have a lot of screen tearing because the frame rate's sitting at 30 right now while they try and figure out how to boost that thing up back to 60 while maintaining the graphic splendor that it's meant to have. And that's going to push a lot of people off because we've all finally adjusted to 60 frames per second so that we have that seamless camera pane now. So it just seems like it's too late for it to drop back down to 30 because that's going to put a lot of people off. Because then to go from 30 to 60 again, we're going to have the same problems as we did when the PlayStation 4 decided to upgrade its graphic system.
Well, some of the things that I've been reading is that they're not really going to try to hit native 4K. It's going to be upresed. And we also have this new technique, not Sony specifically, but just programming in general, that is supposed to be able to take a 1080p image, something that's being resolved at 1080p, and then putting it up to 4K and not missing a beat or getting extremely close to it. So I think they're kind of banking on that technology kind of coming through to sort of bridge that gap that you're speaking about in terms of in how much horsepower it actually has to be able to drive like a native 4K image.
I still just, even though I know that programmers are getting more and more talented every year, I just don't see this kicking off for at least another year.
You could be right. Could be a misstep. It's a gamble, but it seems like Sony and Microsoft are both dead set on taking the gamble, jumping the gun on starting these new console generations even faster. So I guess we have to just wait and see what the PlayStation meeting has for us and how people receive it.
Well, I mean, part of that is because both Sony and PlayStation kind of missed the bus when the Wii came out. Let's be honest here, that was the biggest jump in gaming in a long, long time. And they were both sitting there just completely blindsided by this new tech that was coming out. Nobody thought this was going to be great, where it turned out that it was really good. And then, the Wii U came out and improved upon that. So I think that they're just running scared and trying to stay ahead of the curve this time so that they're not pushed out or look stupid to Nintendo, which is more the casual gamer scene because Xbox and Sony, that's where the pro gamers are. That's where the hardcore gamers live. And for casuals to beat out the hardcore game designers, whew, that just looks bad.
Well, time will tell. So we're kind of done speaking about the news. So now we're going to move up to upcoming releases. And in a couple of days, in a little bit over a week, we've got Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Are you excited about this?
Yeah, it's almost here.
So personally, I am excited, but I'm also a little tepid excitement. Like I want this game to come out and I want it to be awesome. But I'm also like, it could also be bad. Like for me it could be 50-50, honestly.
Are you worried of another weird three-part ending like they did for the first one? Because I know that puts a lot of people off because, then you start to compare it to Mass Effect. Although I think Mass Effect 3 came out afterwards. I can't remember, but I know that it was part of the releases of, ooh, there's three endings and they're all terrible.
Yeah, I'm just concerned in general, just general worry. But again, let's see what happens. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Well, I'm more interested to see with which ending they went with because I know that there was the anti-prosthetic movement, then there was the pro-prosthetic ending, and then there was kind of like a weird harmony between the two.
Hmm.
I know with game images, you kind of see people walking around with more visible prosthetics, so I'm thinking that the pro prosthetic thing won. Maybe the Harmony one did too. I'm just kind of interested in that. Because since it's going to PlayStation 4, and I believe the other one was on the 3, it's not going to be able to draw from your save game file to see what you chose to adjust the experience enough. So they kind of have to. They're going to tick off some people here by arbitrarily choosing an ending.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna have to choose whichever one they felt would probably create a better story.
Yeah, that's what most game designers do.
Okay, well, for those of you who are listening and you're thinking about getting the PC version, be careful because it's not really being developed in house. It's been kicked out to a third party, and I'm not hearing very good things about that. So you may want to stick to the console versions. So now to kind of start to wrap things up a little bit, what are you playing right now, Thunder?
I'm playing Hearts of Iron 4, and for those of you who follow my reviews, and I hope that there are a few of you out there, um, at the time that you're hearing this, my review on it should be released, so you'll be able to see my point of view on things. Also, an actual screenshot from my game where I actually laughed at the outcome, and you'll be able to tell which one it is very, very easily. I do apologize for the picture quality, though. Steam screenshot. What can I say?
Well, I'm currently playing Uncharted 2 as part of the Nathan Drake collection. I never got to play the Uncharted series and during the PlayStation 3. So when I bought my PS4, it came with the code to get them all, so I did. And I'm actually live streaming this on Twitch on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 o'clock Eastern. So if you want to tune in to that, please do. I'm so far enjoying the Uncharted series. I did like one more than I'm liking two right now.
Really,
Uh,
because when 2 came out, people were saying the exact opposite, that it improved on some of the combat systems, and also the story was a little bit more beefed out.
I think the Uncharted 2 story. Well, again, I'm not finished it yet. I'm sort of I think towards the middle, maybe 75% of the way through. But I just feel like the lead female character was less enjoyable on the second one, although it does kind of get switched up a bit. I feel like a lot of the drawbacks from the first one are still present in the second one, like the cover system. There are way too many times when I'll have a grenade just land right next to me. I'm trying to dodge out of the way, but he'll just kind of uh, take cover against the wall, and I'll just instantly die, and that's not fun. There's also the camera can kind of be a bit combative with you. It'll swing around wildly sometimes, and it'll make you miss a jump. So those frustrations are still there, but I'll have to see how I feel after it ends. Maybe I will end up liking this one more than the first one, but for now, from what I've played, I enjoy the first one more.
How far in are you? Are you still in the city?
No, well. Spoiler alert. I'll try to keep spoilers to a minimum, but as Drake, I'm kind of trying to chase one of the other previous explorers who sent me into the temple. He was like, "Hey, go check this out. Then you'll believe me." And so we go do that with the Tibetan guide. We're kind of in these sort of ice caves area that I really, really like. That's definitely been my favorite environment so far in that game.
Oh,
And
okay.
so you get out of the ice cave area and you're kind of trying to go save that other explorer.
Okay, I know exactly where you are now. I remember this game fondly.
Okay, perfect. So
And
I'm there.
yeah,
So
and
I,
Nathan Drake's quips up to this point, they get funnier.
oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Nolan North. Nolan North fan club right here.
Great actor, by the way.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
So I know that you wanted to speak about something regarding Demon Souls,
Dark Souls.
Dark
Dark Souls 3.
Souls. Okay,
So,
Dark Souls.
given that this is our new podcast, and of course, I kind of want to try and drive a little bit of the hype. I know that a lot of our news today was based around hype, so kind of going with a theme here. Um, I've been playing Dark Souls 3 for a while now. Took a little bit of a break because I was about to have an aneurysm, but I'm back in it now, and I've decided to restart my current game. I've made some leveling mistakes and missed some opportunities, so I want to kind of go back and rectify those. And in the interest of fun for our listeners, every 2 weeks when these podcasts come out, I will have a Dark Souls 3 Lost Souls update. For those of you who don't understand what this means, in Dark Souls 3, when you kill an enemy, you gain souls, and these are basically experience points. When you die, any souls that you're carrying get dropped onto the ground. You'll respawn and you must get back to your souls and pick them up actively without dying. If you die, they're gone. And this
Hmm.
is kind of part of why people say Dark Souls is so frustrating, is because you may blitz through like this really easy part with a bunch of enemies and come up across a challenge and undo a heap of time's work. But when you watch other people do it, it's funny. So I'm hoping that I can bring that here. And I'm not just going to be like, oh, I lost 30,000 souls. No, 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 no. That's just boring. I'm going to explain to you how I lost them too, in as much detail as I possibly can over an audio podcast.
So you're going to be weaving a narrative for our listeners.
Yes, yes, a narrative of no doubt immense sadness. Because I am of the mind of, ooh, I'm winning. I can keep going until the game reminds me it's Dark Souls.
Well, Dark Souls has quite the reputation for doing that. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna look forward to this. I'm gonna see how far you get.
I'm not.
Well, I mean, you're doing this for our listeners, right?
I know, but I can still be against it.
Too bad. You gotta do it.
Damn it.
Gotta drive in that listenership.
Yeah, okay.
All right then.
I don't know how I can regret my own idea.
Well, we're about to find out. So, everyone, thank you for listening. I hope that everyone enjoyed this little podcast of ours. If you do, please come back. Thank you. Enjoy all the gaming.
Have fun out there, guys.